They didn't think that way because they did it naturally. They cared about God. They wanted to do the right thing. Because they're God-focused, community-focused, country-focused, sometimes enemy-focused. And all of those things have been moved aside. We don't have a common enemy. And people who try and tell us we do, will be like, we want our troops out of Afghanistan. We want our troops out of Iraq. We don't see them as a common enemy, as a community like we did in the old days. God no longer kind of tells us, or we listen, we really want to know what He wants. Nowadays, we want God to know what we want, and we'll fit Him into our lifestyles and our kind of how we do our lives. We'll listen to the verses in the Bible that kind of encourage what we've already want to do anyway. So we don't God-focused in the way we used to be. We're not enemy-focused. We're not community-focused. Our politicians, I mean, if they elect liberal, conservative, or New Democrat, all of us know our lifestyles will not be gymnastically affected. We know that our lives will not be dramatically affected. And so, you know, that's why voter turnout is so low. Now it's about my career. It's about my relationships. It's about my self-fulfillment. We're kind of like cavemen. You know, cavemen didn't have kind of a guiding vision, a guiding passion, a kind of a guiding set of principles. It's just like, it's about me. I'm going to survive today. And that's what we've been left with. The only common project engaging the imagination is the exploration of space. And we all know that's empty anyways. So space, Gene Roddenberry, I'm sorry, that vision didn't catch on. All we have left with, because every other kind of focus, every other altruistic kind of goal, every other passion, every other thinking about other people outside ourselves, prioritizing parents or government, community, or common enemy, gone, swept away. And we have nothing left but ourselves. Every citizen, every member of this country is preoccupied with the contemplation of themselves. Hence, we end up with shampoos that say, be dirty, be clean, be you. And that's at the extreme end of our self-centered, me-centered culture. I don't think I need to convince you that it's everywhere. Within our culture, it's all about you. And you can't escape it. You're the goldfish. It's the pool that you swim in as a fish. You can't escape it. You can't help it. There's really nothing you can do about it because you've been brought up in this culture. You are adrift on the island of me. And how this plays havoc with our prayer life, I believe, is this. When you're adrift on the island of me, who meets your needs? You do. You meet them all. The only time we pray, like Daryl said this morning, is when there's an emergency. When someone's really sick or something really bad happened. So when it's an emergency, we pray. But every other time, we don't because we're meeting our own needs. And so when someone tells us, you need to pray 30 minutes out loud in a private place, we're like, I know part of my heart says that, but I just can't do it. I tried, I can't do it. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to think. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to pray about. And you kind of, sometimes you can get kind of down on yourself for that. But the reality is, you're stuck. There's nothing you can do. It's not all your fault. You're trapped in the person that your culture has trained you to be. So the question there is, how do I get over myself? Because when you're so self-consumed, you know, you try not to be, you can struggle with prayer because when you go to God in prayer, like, oh, what do I pray about? I've meeting all my needs anyways. And you come to God and you know something's wrong. It's like, I'm in front of God, I'm talking to God. In your heart, there's like something off because you know you're me-centered. Maybe you can't even articulate it. But you're so me-centered, and God isn't you-centered. God is God. He's God-centered. So there's this awkwardness when you come to talk to God. There's this struggle for what to say. It's kind of like, I tried to come up with some analogies here. It's kind of like trying to make friends with an exchange student. Their English isn't that good. Your Chinese or Japanese or Spanish is non-existent. And so you try and communicate with them, but there's a language barrier. You don't know what to say. You know you should be befriending them and helping them feel comfortable and enriching their lives and allowing them to enrich yours. But it's just such hard work, you don't know what to say. There's this language barrier. Or, for some of us, trying to connect with a grandma or a grandpa. You know they're important, and so you try and talk to them, but it's like, what do you talk to them about? They don't play the Wii, they don't like watch hockey, well maybe grandpa does. It's like, so there's this generation gap. You try and talk with your grandma, you know it's the right thing to do, but the conversation is like 2 or 3 minutes, you're like, oh grandma, I gotta go, and don't you have like bingo to go to anyways? So there's this generation gap, or let's say I've tried to talk to criminals before, or maybe for you, you tried to talk to diplomats before. It's like the diplomat is like so far up here on like the cultural hierarchy, you don't know what to talk to them about because you never listen to Mozart, and you don't drive a Mercedes. Or the criminal, you try and talk to them, but it's like, what's he talking about? The criminal is using all these slangs and ebonics and the different ways of talking, and you know they're just thinking about stealing the next car or doing the next unprofessional thing. It's like you try. I've had this experience anyway. Atlanta's had this experience where we used to volunteer in the jails. It's like, what do you talk about with these guys? And Daryl's done this. There's this cultural divide. And then we come and talk to God, and there's this divide as well. And it's a focus divide. We have just me focused all day, all week, all our lives really. And we come to God, and God doesn't swing that way. He's not you focused. You know that deep down. You're like, oh, I can't do it. I don't know what to say. I guess I just don't have enough time. Let's go on the computer or go on the TV. So the problem is, the question is, the question we need a solution to is this. How can we get over ourselves so that this can become genuine? This is Psalm 27. My heart says of you, seek His face. And inside, we know we want to have that relationship of God where we can pray, and it's not a struggle, but it's meaningful, and we're enjoying the time spent with God. We're experiencing love and grace and strength, and we leave it saying, I stayed up half an hour later, but I feel more rested than if I'd gone to bed an hour ago. We want to have that experience. We want to listen to our heart and reply by saying, your face, Lord, I will seek. But then we get down there on our knees or on the edge of our bed, trying to pray out loud, trying to pray anything, and just, we don't know what to say. We struggle. There's a gap, a language barrier. And we know, maybe you didn't know, but now I say it, maybe it makes sense to you. You're out of focus. You've grown up on this island, you're adrift, island of me, and then you come to God who's settled. He knows the truth. He knows the real center of the world is Him. And you struggle and you can't get past it. Well, I got good news for you. There is a solution to overcoming yourself. And it's this. We need new words. We need to be realigned. And I would like to suggest that we use a book in the Bible called Psalms to re-educate us as far as what to say, to re-educate us as far as the language of God, the culture of God, and to kind of almost brainwash this self-centered priority that we're just hammered with, that's like so deep it's in our blood. If we can learn to pray the Psalms and merge these divine words with our longings and our feelings, I believe your prayer time can be transformed into a time of 30 minutes praying out loud in a private place that you enjoy, that you look forward to, that you find enriching, that you find strength from, and as I said a few minutes ago, you find more rest from that half an hour than a couple extra hours of sleep or relaxing in front of the computer or the television. That's my persuasion for today, is to encourage you to use the Psalms as you pray. So last week, as we go through the next 2 weeks, it's going to be like, I'm going to make about 5 or 6 suggestions as you set up your prayer routine.